All right, Monday, 9 a.m. people. Let's get that coffee, that pancake and eggs, that pastry, whatever you got. We're hitting you in the morning. #1 morning show on the hottest network for all things Alabama athletics, especially football, the Bama Standard Network. This is Bama Vision. Yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, and I got the more entertaining, exciting, better Ragsdale, the pilot behind it all. Herbo, good morning, Herb. How are we flying the plane this morning?
Man, you already saw the breakfast, right? Had the eggs and the sausage going, so I'm ready. Hey, roll tide to the coffee as well. Thank you for for keeping it going.
Here we go. So Herb's got the coffee. He's got the eggs and sausage here. He's ready to fly the plane as he is in the cockpit controlling everything right now. And I am the straw that stirs the drink here in terms of the show, Bama Vision. And folks, we got a great show. Phenomenal show. But first, we want you to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, get in the comment section, go crazy in the comment section. We're taking your comments. We're taking questions at the end. So save your questions to the end. We want all of you being a part here of today's conversation. We're talking Alabama players in terms of preseason hype. Does it finally matter this year? I know in years past, U.S. Bama Nation, these preseason lists, they don't mean a thing. But is it different this time around? We'll get into Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams, why the sophomore slump will not be a thing for him this season, and then we'll get into why Georgia is not the scare that everybody may think that they should be for Alabama football this season. Shout out my guy Raj Ragsdale in the comment section right there. Morning, everyone in Roll Tide. Appreciate you, Raj. My girl Latoya Billingsley in here. Roll Tide, my country cousin, Roll Tide. Herb. Appreciate Latoya being a part of the show. Don Parker, DP already in the building. Top of the morning, everyone. Roll Tide. Appreciate you, Don. Warren Powell is in here giving us a Roll Tide. Bob Rutherford in the building, the RTR with the heart there. Jonathan Lewis from Crimson Cafe and College Football Chatter, part of the Bama Standard Network. Morning, Stephen M. Roll Tide. Appreciate all of you guys being a part of the show. Once again, hop in the comment section. Get those comments going. We're taking questions here at the end of the show. As always, folks, what you need as an Alabama fan, this starts the winning championship mentality. You see what I got on that wall back there? You know what Herb has in every nook and cranny of his house. You know what I'm talking about? Throw that thing up. The title towel, whitwillsports.com. Get you a towel right now. Thomas Whitaker, Lavelle Wilson, two incredible guys, an incredible product. This starts your journey as an Alabama fan. We want to see 100,000 people going crazy. Saban Field, Bryant-Denny Stadium, all this season in the fall, waving, twirling that towel in the air like your life depended on it. whitwillsports.com. It is whitwillsports.com. Get you a towel. You enter the promo code STANDARD. You get you a nice discount there, courtesy of your favorite Bama network, the Bama Standard. Herb, you know you keep those towels. We all stand behind that product.
Man, you already know because you already see a couple in the background, right?
Yeah.
And you know you always got the one right next to you. So
absolutely.
And nobody stopped me at A-Day game. So the first game I get to that somebody stops me and says, "What's up?" They're getting a towel from me. So I always keeping extra one for the fans, man. You already know.
Absolutely. Got to keep it for the fans. Got to keep it for the people there. So Herb's got you covered. If you are lacking a towel, find this guy. The pilot here, he's got you covered on all things towels. A title towel. Appreciate Whitwill Sports right there. But now, we get to the first topic of conversation here, Herb, that being preseason hype for Alabama football, for these players. Is it warranted? Does it matter? For a lot of us Alabama football consumers, we look at this and we go, no, we don't want these lists. These lists don't mean nothing. It's too much hoopla. It's too much nonsense. We don't need this hype. We just want straight out work done on the field. It doesn't even matter until you get on the field. Keep these preseason hype lists away from these Alabama football players from this team because it doesn't even matter. And normally, for the most part, Bama Nation, I would agree with you. I would agree with you. Keep these lists away from these players, absolutely. But this season right here, I look at this, there's a slight difference with this season right here. And the reason why it's a slight difference is this year, in terms of preseason lists, when you talk about spring football, going into the summer, and going into fall camp prior to the season starting in August, we look at more of a conversation, and a real conversation is forming when you look at the Alabama players that are being projected high for the 2026 NFL draft. And these Alabama players that are projected high to be the top of their respective positions. What this is showing is Alabama has all the talent and tools needed and necessary to get to the college football playoff. The expectation behind these preseason lists is Alabama, at the bare minimum, should make the college football playoff. Now, once they get in the playoff, let the chips fall where they may. Bama making a run into the national championship game and wins the national championship, oh, happy day. Bama gets into the college football playoff and makes a run, and maybe it gets to the semifinal round of a championship round and it loses. Hey, it got in the playoff and it made a run. But the bare minimum requirement for this year's team is get into that playoff, especially with the playoff expanded to 12 teams. Everybody and their great grandfather is in the playoff right now. Alabama, one of the biggest brands in college football. You got to have that brand here in the playoff. And for me, Herb, one of the biggest reasons why this preseason hype kind of matters in terms of this season is for Kalen DeBoer, you're not going to get another mulligan, right? Last year, year one, Kalen DeBoer got the mulligan. Alabama fans are willing to give you grace in terms of a mulligan when it comes down to different circumstances. And last year was a circumstance unlike any other. You replace the greatest to ever do it. Not replace, that's a bad word. You come to fill the shoes left behind. There you go. You come to fill the shoes left behind by the greatest to ever do it in college football or in football, period. You come in to fill the shoes left behind by one of one, that being Nick Saban. And when you do that, there's twists, there's turns, there's transitions. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes into that. And so Kalen DeBoer inherited a lot. He endured a lot. Some of that self-inflicted. Some of that was not. You look at some things DeBoer could have done a bit better. You look at some things he couldn't have done because that's exactly what he inherited. So with Alabama fans, when you look at that, you go, okay, you came in, it was your first year, there was a lot of growing pains, there was a lot that had to be done, there was a lot that you inherited, there was a situation of which you inherited. So we can understand handing you the mulligan for 2024. 2025, no. 2025, we are expecting you to produce. You got your first full recruiting class in here, right? You were able to get other guys that you did not recruit to buy into what you're selling, correct? The schedule that you're going to have for 2025, though it's tough, all the games that you lost the previous year on the road, you now have those teams at home inside Bryant-Denny. We are expecting, Alabama Nation is expecting much better. It's kind of like, Herb, if you ever played the game marbles and you are about to, hit your marble and you don't hit your marble veers off and you yell slippers really fast, you can get that redo, right? So last year was the slippers moment for Kalen DeBoer. I don't see him getting that slippers moment this time around just due to the talent that's back on your roster. When you have defensively, you only lost, 2 premier guys to the draft when you discuss Jihad Campbell and Malachi Moore. Yes, Quandarius Robinson was good, but your 2 premier guys, Malachi Moore and Jihad Campbell, are the 2 you lost. Everybody else you brought back. So that defense is expected to be better. It's expected to take another step forward after what it did the middle of the way to the bottom half of last season. Offensively, you bring in your guy, Kalen DeBoer, to call the plays, and Ryan Grubb, right? You have all of your receivers back. They're all back. You have your offensive lineman. You have your left tackle and Kadyn Proctor. You have your center and Parker Brailsford. You have a guard and Jaden Roberts. All of those guys have experience. You have, your running back, 6 of those guys in the room, led by Jam Miller and Richard Young. So Ryan Grubb has several pieces to work with. So offensively and defensively, you have all your tools. You have them all. This is the reason why preseason list this time is not overhyped, because what it's telling us, what it's selling us on, is the expectation. Alabama, you got to get to the college football playoff. That's the expectation. When you have leadership back, when you have young, talented freshmen that can be infused in there and have an impact, and then when you go into the portal and you got transfer pieces that you needed. Alabama picked up a Nakai Hill-Green. They needed that linebacker. Bama needed that at that position, especially an inside linebacker, to go in the portal and pick up a chippy, big-time playmaker in Cam Calhoun, who had 9 pass breakups last year for Utah. You needed that. To go in the portal and pick up a Cam Dewberry on the offensive line, you needed that. So the moves that Bama made in the portal, you needed those moves. You got roster retention and keeping the guys that are currently on your roster, and then to be able to recruit a very sound freshman class. What this preseason list is showing you is that the expectation for Alabama to make the college football playoff is the right expectation, because in year 2, you expect more from Kalen DeBoer after getting the mulligan there in year 1. So we're going to bring Herb in here. Herb, when you look at year 2 here, I know a lot of Alabama fans are going to say these preseason stuff doesn't matter. And I get it. It doesn't. You want to see it happen on the field. But in the sense of the reason why they're doing this is because the expectation for Alabama should be, with everybody back, or with the majority of people back, make the college football playoff. That's the baseline. Are these preseason rankings right in saying that should at least be the baseline with the guys Alabama has back?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you hit it on the head. You start with the defense and what you have coming back from the defense, and with the defensive improvement at the end of the year, it feels like we should have a top 10 unit. You know what I mean? I get that there's things that could happen here and there, whatever, but it feels like you should have that, right? The SEC is in flux. You have a lot of new starters get quarterback in the SEC as well. A lot of revenge games at home. It just feels like with those kind of factors, just in the defense alone, that you should contend, right? You bring in your play caller, a lot of talent on offense, deep at several positions. It would just be disappointing. Like I said, for the first year, I thought 10-2, right? I was wrong on that. I feel like we still could have got to 10-2 regular season, but
Right.
That's neither here nor there. But now you are picking more of the pieces yourself, and you are molding this team quickly into what you want. It would just be a huge disappointment to not get 10-2. Like you said, once you make the playoffs, whatever happens, right? But in year 2, in the transfer portal era, you don't have the same amount of time that you would have had in the past. Remember in the past, we used to say, hey, give him 3 to 4 years, get his guys in, get established.
Yeah, that feels like it was so long ago.
You might as well be talking about in the dark ages, man, before they had the forward pass in football. Like, they don't do that anymore. You know what I mean? They do not do that anymore.
They don't. And so Herb, keep you on screen here for just a moment here. They don't do that anymore. And that's why you look at this year too for Kalen DeBoer as so crucial, because when you don't lose anybody of scholarship merit to the transfer portal, the idea is, okay, if you didn't lose anybody, then everybody you have should be bought in. If you didn't lose anybody, then everybody that you have should be bought into, okay, the expectation is to make the playoff.
Right.
If we don't make the playoff, that's a serious problem.
Yeah.
That's a serious issue if you do not make the college football playoff, because we've gotten to a point where the conference championship games, as good as they are, they don't have the same value in terms of, if I don't make it to the SEC championship game, I'm not going to get in the playoff. That's not a thing anymore. You
Nope,
can
not
miss
at
the
all.
conference title game and still make the playoff. You can you don't even have to be there in the college football in the conference championship game and still make the playoff. And so
Nope.
that's the biggest thing that Alabama football consumers are looking at when they talk this team and Kalen DeBoer. Hey, we didn't like what happened in 2024. We hated it. But we have grown to understand what last year was. You no more of Saban. He out. Okay. You're the guy now. We get all of the twists and turns that you had to go through. We get it. Now we're a year removed from that. Now, this is year 2. This is becoming more of your team. So since this is becoming more of your team, here is the expectation for you. We want you in this playoff, especially when you look at, you've got, guys like Ryan Williams, guys like Kadyn Proctor, guys like Parker Brailsford, guys like Jaden Roberts, guys like LT Overton, guys like Tim Keenan, Deontay Lawson, Cam Calhoun, and Bray Hubbard, who are looked at by these different sites and these different networks and these different organizations in college football as top players, as elite players. And when these guys are being looked at in that sort of a light, the expectation is now Bama's got the dudes. Bama's got the depth. Bama's got the quality of players. Now it's time for these coaches, led by Kalen DeBoer, and these players to put it all together in terms of making a college football playoff run here. That's the big thing. I think that's the biggest reason as to why the preseason hype is warranted this year, because Bama Nation feels it has the team to get it done. It has the team to make the playoff. Now, once again, once you get in that thing, let the chips fall where they may. We will see if Bama makes a run in it. But the number one thing is now, this season, get in it. There's no excuse now. There's no excuse now. There's no slippers now. There's no mulligan now. You got to get in there. You got to get in there, because this is the one area of college football where that seat goes from cold to extremely hot really fast. And at times, does it seem unfair to just put coaches on a hot seat? Yes, at times it seems unfair. But in today's age of college football, where you have a 12-team playoff and you're trying to create so many opportunities for different teams to get in to compete for a national championship, when you are the University of Alabama and your slogan is "where legends are made," and you're coming from a conference like the SEC where its slogan is "it just means more," and you don't get into that playoff, and it's year 2 of Kalen DeBoer, then that becomes a problem. Then that becomes an issue. So I think the preseason hype, Herb, is warranted this time around, because with everybody back here on your roster, the expectation is you got to make the playoff. With a veteran team, with a veteran group, with guys that have the experience of what took place last year and the embarrassment of the losses you had last year, that creates all the hunger within you to want to get back to that stage of winning, being elite, being dominant, bullying every opposition in front of you. And I'm looking forward to seeing this team do that here in the coming fall. But starting off here in the summer workouts, in the fall camp, and all that good stuff right there. Before we transition to topic number 2 of the conversation, and also get some more of your comments here, save your questions to the end. You got to get you that title towel, people. I'm telling you, get you a towel, y'all. Title towel, whitwillsports.com. Go there right now. You click the promo code standard. You get you a nice little discount courtesy of your favorite Bama network, the Bama Standard. This towel starts off your mentality as an Alabama fan. You want to win? You want to be of excellence? You start by twirling that towel inside Saban or on Saban Field, inside Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturdays here in the fall. Get you that title towel today. I appreciate our guys there at whitwillsports.com. But we're going to pull up here some more comments here, Herb. We'll read some more of these. We got Tyson Boyd giving us a roll tide. Appreciate you, Tyson, being a part here of the show. We got O'Neal H in the building. He two-stepping in here with the roll tide. We got Specimen Andy, not the one. Steven is straight up gangster roll tide. I don't know how gangster I am, Herb. I gotta take me a gangster-fied test. Do they have gangster test, Herb? Do they have tests on how gangster are you? I don't know that. They probably do, but we'll have to check that out there. Latoya Billingsley, Justin. This question for Justin Riley, Tribal Chief. Did anyone correctly guess Herb's age last night? Herb, I guess they're still playing Guess Your Age, bro. I guess that game is still going on. I guess 57, Herb, is not landing. I don't think 57 has landed on the folks yet, Herb. So appreciate Latoya getting her thought in there. Ephraim, good morning, everyone, and roll tide. Appreciate Ephraim here being a part of the show. Absolutely. We got Latoya coming back with correction, Herb. Top 5 defense. So Toya has Bama with that top 5 defense. So Toya believing here in that Kane Womack 4-2-5 set right there. So we're going to see that right here in the upcoming fall. We'll keep rolling with a few more comments, Herb, before we get to the next topic here. We got Don Parker, and has DeBoer had his grits yet? Don, I think he got him. I think he actually got him over the weekend, Herb. I think DeBoer actually had his grits over the weekend. I think he went to the Waysider. Herb, and got them grits. So, yeah, Herb got him. No, DeBoer got him, Herb. I think DeBoer got those grits there. Specimen Andy, don't forget to bring a towel. Bring your title towel, folks. Have that towel, have it waving, have it twirling, have it going. This starts your mentality. Winning mentality, that being, as an Alabama fan. We'll get one more comment in here, and it's from Don Parker. Who else better? Stephen M. is on the Curtis Mayfield level of gangster. Diamond in the back, y'all. Hey, let's go. You know what? We got the 8-track bump in there, DP. We got the 8-track bump that Curtis Mayfield this morning. You know what I'm talking about? We got the 8-track bump in there, but we got to see here. Getting that gangstified test. I got to go online. You know, my daughter is good at finding online tests, so I gotta get with Mariah and find that online test to see, you know, how gangster are you? I gotta find that. So before we find that, though, hit that like and subscribe button right there. Hit that thumbs up, smash the like button, subscribe to the show. We're giving you all the Bama football content right here in the morning, 9 a.m. on a Monday. Starting your week off with Bama Visions, your coffee, your pancakes, your sausage, eggs, and Bama Visions. Starting it right there for you. Getting into now topic 2 here, Herb. We look at Hollywood Williams, Ryan Hollywood Williams, and why this will not be a sophomore slump season for him in Hollywood. We all know the documented story. You know, tremendous high school career at Sarah Land High School near the Mobile area in Alabama. A guy that, reclassified. He was supposed to come out in 2025, reclassifies to 2024. He comes out 17 years old. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, how can a 17-year-old kid be able to ball out here in college football? 2-time Mr. Football in the state of Alabama. And what does Hollywood Williams do? Oh, he explodes onto the scene as a freshman. First few games, we're like, a 17-year-old kid shouldn't be doing stuff like this. We all go back to the Georgia game last year where he just made Georgia's defense look like a motherless child crying for help. We all go back to the Georgia game where he had Georgia DBs in a spin cycle going, am I on washer 2 or washer 3? Am I washing delicates or clothes? Like, this is a Ryan Williams that had Kirby Smart going, you got to be freaking kidding me. I get punked out by Bama again, and this time a Bama version with the 17-year-old kid. Like, Ryan Williams was doing some stuff the early part of last season as a freshman. Now, of course, as the season went on, teams locked in on more to him, but he's still into the season as a freshman, All-American guys, as an all-freshman SEC, caliber player. So Ryan still had a big-time freshman season, and he's looking for more this year. And this is despite Alabama having more talent on the roster. When you look at a Jeremy Bernard back, you look at a Cole Adams back, a Jalen Mbakwe now playing receiver, a Rico Scott, a Latzia Brooks. You got dudes on top of dudes on top of dudes in that wide receiver room. But Ryan Williams, I do not see a sophomore slump for this young man. And the number one reason why I don't see a sophomore slump for him is due to the fact that he's got so much around him that it's going to open up more for him. And then number two, he's going to have the quarterback play that's going to get him the football consistently. As much respect as I have for Jalen Milroe, and I have a ton of respect for Milroe, and I want him to ball out in the NFL with the Seattle Seahawks, we have to speak to the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter is Milroe wasn't always consistent in the passing game with getting these guys the football and then those guys going to work. You could see several times last season where receivers were visibly frustrated, right? I mean, whether it was Ryan Williams, whether it was Jeremy Bernard, there were so many guys visibly frustrated because they were wide open and they're jumping up and down and they're creating separation and they're looking at Milroe going, J Mill ticket him, open, get me the football. And whether Milroe didn't see him or whether Milroe wasn't looking their way or whether he already had his mind made up to just take off and run with it, those guys were frustrated. So you're not going to have that problem this season in the quarterback room. These guys, led by, of course, Ty Simpson, who I 100% is going to feel like is going to be the starter here at that quarterback position, QB1. Ty Simpson is going to get Ryan Williams that football and let Ryan go to work here. So I thought because more talent around Ryan opens Ryan up for more opportunities. But on top of that, having the quarterback room that's going to get him the football led by Ty Simpson is a reason why you are not going to see that sophomore slump from Ryan Williams. Number three for me is, his ability to stay healthy, right? Because I go back to what was the reason behind Julio Jones' sophomore slump in 2009? He had the hand injury, right? That slowed him down a little bit. You go back to Amari Cooper in 2013. What was the reason behind his sophomore slump? He had the toe issue, right? And then you look at Calvin Ridley in 2016. The reason behind his sophomore slump was Jalen Hurts, as good as he was and as good as he's become now as a passer, he was not the most accurate passing quarterback in the world year two at Alabama. That being 2016 was his first year, 2017 was the second year. But 2016, his first year at Alabama, Calvin Ridley's second year, Hurts wasn't the best passer of the football, and that's what caused Calvin Ridley to have a bit of a sophomore slump there. But for Ryan Williams, I don't see that. He's got the quarterback to give him the football, right? He's got so much talent around him that's going to open up more for him. He's got the play caller in Ryan Grubb that is going to put him in situations to be dominant out there on the field in terms of getting quick release off the route, setting him up matchup-wise to come back to the football, setting him up matchup-wise to create that separation and getting open, setting him up matchup-wise to put him on possibly the opponent's worst defensive back and letting this young man cook. And then number 3, I think Ryan Williams has got the ability to keep himself healthy so that sophomore slump does not hit him. We insert my man Herbo back in here. Herb, you're a receiver guy. You've always been a wide receiver guy. So when you look at Ryan, I don't think the sophomore slump is going to hit him for all the reasons that I mentioned here. But if you could provide a reason from your own viewpoint, I mean, why do you think a sophomore slump doesn't hit Hollywood here?
Well, one of the first reasons, and like you said, all due respect to what came before, but I do think Ty Simpson will be a better distributor of the ball. So, it's funny, 15 to 20 targets in a game for one person is probably not the best thing. A little bit too much pressure in that area. I don't think you'll see that again. Less pressure on him. Let's be honest, last year he didn't always run the greatest routes. I think another year of refinement for him. I think in high school, sometimes you can get by just talent-wise. And once you start to go up a level, it's like, okay, I've got to get a little bit more in my craft. So I think you'll get that as well. And then honestly, a lot less pressure this year. Last year was like, all right, we're going to get it to Ryan. We're going to get to Jeremy. All right, we're going back to Ryan. You know what I mean? Like, that was it. You know what I mean?
Like it was literally a 2-man show, Herb. It was like, all right, Jern. Okay, Ryan, you're next. Okay, Ryan, you again. Okay, Ryan, you a third time. Wait, we forgot Jared. Let's go back to Jared. Like,
you know what I mean?
It was literally those two. But now that you have, as you mentioned, now that you have a Rico Scott, okay. Now that you have a Latia Brooks, okay. Now that you have other guys you can depend on. This opens up
you got to mention my guy, Isaiah Horton. You always have to
and Isaiah Horton too. So now that you have these guys you can depend on more.
Yes.
This opens more for Ryan because now opposition is saying we can't key in on just 2 because now you've got Bernard 5, who's a beast, catching it. Now you got this little 17 Brooks as a freshman catching it. Now you got this Horton transfer kid catching it. You can't just put your whole defense on Ryan Williams now.
Yeah. And can I also say this point right here? This is another one too. The fact that the running game will be better and more balanced and not, 90% QB run is also a huge reason why. The defense can't just load up on any one spot. Like, they're going to have to stay honest. And I think that'll open up stuff for the wide receivers as well. So
true. And because Herb, you bring up that point, going back to, and this ties into not having a sophomore slump for Ryan Williams. I want to bring up 2 situations here. First situation I want to bring up, that 2012 Bama offense. The reason why Amari Cooper as a freshman was able to have that 1,000-yard season, you look at other guys, A.J. McCarron was spreading the ball around, right? He was spreading the ball to Kevin Norwood. He was spreading the ball to Kenny Bell. He was spreading the ball to DeAndrew White, other guys. But then you look at who your 2 running backs were. Eddie Lacy and TJ Yeldon were both 1,000-yard backs that year. It was crazy. That was the reason why you had that success there for Amari Cooper. And then you go to 2015, you look at, Calvin Ridley, 1,000-yard year. I think he had 89 catches, 1,045 yards, 7 touchdowns. Well, you had Derrick Henry, who ran for over 2,000 yards that season. That took so much off Calvin. And then not to mention, you had Ardarius Stewart, who, in my opinion, one of the most underrated guys to ever play at Alabama. Ardarius had a good year. Then you had Richard Slotty Pippen Mulaney, who had, 38 catches for 390 and 5 touchdowns. So it pays, as you stated, Herb, when you have the balance of a running game mixed with other receivers around you that can step up and catch the football, it does take the pressure off a number 1 guy.
Agree. And that's why, I think that the everything is in position for him to have a good year and to be the guy without always having the pressure of being the guy. Like we look at Smith, at Ohio State, who is, by the way, phenomenal in any setting. But
absolutely.
Having some other guys there and 2 great running backs only helped out his whole situation. They were a very balanced offense that could hurt you anyway. And then you saw when, okay, big moments, we're still going to our guy. So he was still very clearly the guy with one of the most, if not the most balanced and best offense in college football last year. That's what I see for Ryan Williams this year.
Absolutely. And Hollywood has put on muscle, people. He has added some weight to his frame. He has put on muscle. So he's bigger now than what he was, his freshman season. But it does pay where you have diversified your route tree, which he's done this offseason. But then when you have other guys around you that you can count on to step up in that receiver room, and then when you have a backfield where you are handing the ball to these running backs, and that takes more pressure off you. When you have a quarterback room led by Ty Simpson, and Ty's athletic too. Ty can pull the ball down and run that zone read, but you're not going to have 30 zone read runs from Ty Simpson. You're not going to have that. He's going to be able to go under center, hand that ball to Jam Miller, hand that ball to Richard Young, hand that ball to Daniel Hill and Dre Washington and A.K. Deere and the amount of guys who are going to touch the football. So this is all going to benefit Ryan from not having that sophomore slump. And then it also feels good when you have a position coach in Jamarcus Shepard who's going to push you to be the ultimate wide receiver. Coach Shep is going to push to get everything out of Ryan, and not just the route running, and not just the catching, and not just to go up and high point the football, but the blocking aspect too. He's going to have Ryan be that total full package wide receiver. So I just feel like he won't have that sophomore slump just due to he's got all of the pieces around him, from Coach Shep coaching him at his position at wide receiver to Ryan Grubb calling out the plays from an offensive schematic coordinating standpoint. And then when you have other playmakers around you that can take that pressure off you, along with having the quarterback that can get you the football when you need the football, all of this helps Ryan. The main thing for Hollywood is stay healthy. Yeah, that's the main thing. And that goes to David Ballou and that strength staff. David Ballou and in that sports science department, keeping Hollywood healthy out there in the field going to be the main thing. But I don't see Ryan's succumbing to that sophomore slump as opposed to what we saw from Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, and Calvin Ridley. And those three were incredible wide receivers, but they just had different circumstances in year two that created a slump there for those guys. But as always, people, as I've said, you want to get that Bama fandom started, that Bama winning mentality started, you know what to do. You get you that title towel, folks. WhitwillSports.com. WhitwillSports.com. Get your hands on that title towel. Wave it in the air like you just don't care. Supporting your Crimson Tide. Throw it up! In the words of Lil Jon, throwing that towel up. You want 100,000 yelling, screaming, rambunctious fans shaking Saban Field inside Bryant-Denny Stadium, waving that towel with the utmost ferocity and showing that support here for Alabama football. It is the number one way to get your winning mindset started. WhitwillSports.com. You go there right now. Get you a towel today. You use the promo code STANDARD. Get you a nice little discount there, courtesy of your favorite Bama network here, that being the Bama Standard. We're going to get to a couple more comments here, Herbo, before we get to the final topic and then questions. So let's get to some more of these comments here, Herbo, in the chat line. Roll those comments up here. Speaking of Title Town, one of the members of it, Lavelle Wilson, my God. Get us that roll tide. Appreciate you, Lavelle, being a part here of the show. We got Tolbert saying OG, one of the OGs. Tolbert writes in Morning Steven, Bama Nation, roll tide. Glad to have you back on the Bama Network. Appreciate you, Tolbert. Whitwill Sports is in here. Roll tide. There we go. Title Town in here. Give us that roll tide. Appreciate that. Jay Walker is here. Give us that roll tide. Appreciate you, Jay, joining us this morning. We got here Jeremy Sanders, building depth. Very important this season, especially in the trenches with losing Keenan, Overton, Proctor, Brailsford, and Roberts after this season. Jeremy, that's a big point there. building quality depth in the trenches. That's why it's going to be a huge season for guys like Olasenganin and Rock Montgomery and James Smith and Jordan Renaud and Jeremiah Beeman and Steve Bongo Mbamoa and Casey Poe and William Sanders and guys like Micah DeBose and Micah Carroll, Jackson Lloyd. It's going to be huge to build this depth on both lines of scrimmage because you're going to be losing guys after this season in the fall. So, Jeremy, you are correct. Building that depth does matter. Let's go. Jeremy writes back in. Bama will be planting the flag on the 50 at Doak Walker on those FSU crybabies. Hey, Jeremy is already ready for Bama, Florida State. That matchup taking place in Tallahassee. That's going to be a good one. Sharon Pace giving us a road time. Appreciate you, Sharon, being a part here of the show. As always, people, whitwillsports.com. That's whitwillsports.com. Get you that title towel. Hit that like and subscribe button to this show and to this channel, the Bama Standard Network. We're hitting you with all things Crimson Tide. If you are addicted to Alabama athletics, you come right here. If you got to get that Alabama athletics itch scratched, you come right here to the Bama Standard Network. We got the flavor of shows to fit all of your needs here. We appreciate all of you guys checking us out here on today. But Herb, we get into the final topic of conversation. And this one is not controversial at all. In my opinion, it's not controversial at all. But it might be controversial for some. So you look at the upcoming season here. Georgia, not Bama's scariest test this season. Upon this topic being put on the screen, I can already sense some Bama fans right now. Steven, what do you mean by this nonsense that you just put here? Steven, are you taking the great Kirby Smart lightly? Steven, are you not showing the great Kirby Smart, two-time college football national championship head coach, his just due respect? That's not what I'm doing. I greatly respect Kirby Smart. I greatly respect the Georgia program, and they are champions of college football twice, of which they did that 2021 and 2022 for a reason. But there's a distinct purpose as to why I have this topic here. And here's the distinct purpose behind it. When you look at Georgia and when you look at Coach Smart, Georgia has only beaten Alabama once since they've only beaten Bama once since 2007. They beat Bama in 2007. Ever since then, Georgia has only gotten one win over the Crimson Tide since then, and that was the 2022 college football playoff national championship game off the 21 season. And it took Alabama not having two receivers for Georgia to get that done. Remember the SEC championship that year, you had Jamison Williams and John Mechie both carve up Georgia's secondary, and that was a Georgia defense that had Jordan Davis on there, and people were saying, oh my gosh, there's no way Bama should be in this game right now. And Alabama won that game 41-24. Bryce Young went off passing, and he wins the Heisman Trophy. And then you look at the national championship game, you didn't have John Mechie for that particular contest because Mechie was injured. And then in the first quarter of that game, Jamison Williams is carving Georgia's defense. He's wide open on a play. Bryce Young, ball a bit underthrown. J-Mo has to slow down. And when he slows down, he hurts his knee, and then he's out for the rest of the game. And Georgia's able to win that game. Well, that's the only win that Georgia has had against Alabama. I don't know what it is about Kirby Smart when it comes down to the tie, but he seems to not be able to beat Alabama. And while this matchup would be at Sanford Stadium between the Hedges and Athens, Alabama beat Georgia in Athens in 2008. Alabama beat Georgia in Athens in 2015. Alabama has beaten Georgia in Atlanta, which is supposed to be Georgia's second home. When you look at the SEC championship, that hasn't boded well for the Bulldogs. Bama has taken that. So, Kirby right now while I respect Kirby right now doesn't scare me. Georgia right now doesn't scare me. And then Georgia's lost a lot too. You look at it, offensively, they've lost a good bit. Defensively, they've lost some guys. Georgia does not scare me at all. The team that really scares me right now is South Carolina on that schedule. That's the team. What Shane Beamer did down the stretch of last year, the Gamecocks winning 6 straight, and they had a conversation for the college football playoff. And the way South Carolina played in Tuscaloosa this past season, they only lost by 2, 27-25. Took Damani Jackson, a late interception to seal that game for Alabama. South Carolina scares me. To go to Columbia and you look at, to go to Columbia, you look at Lenore Sellers is back. They paid a good bit of NIL to keep Dylan Stewart. That's the matchup. Alabama and South Carolina in Columbia, that's the matchup. For me, Georgia's not the scariest test. It's those Gamecocks. I get it. Kirby a national champion, Kirby a tremendous coach, and yes, he is. But he doesn't scare me. Georgia doesn't scare me. And yes, I get it. But Steven, Bama goes on the road between the hedges. They go to Athens. They play Georgia and Georgia. That's not easy. No, it's not easy, but it doesn't scare me. Herb, am I wrong to feel this way? Like, I'm not overlooking Georgia at all. I'm not. I'm just saying, upon looking at this matchup does not scare me. It just doesn't. Am I wrong to feel this way, Herb?
Yeah. I think sometimes what people misunderstand is be like, does this matchup scare me? Are you saying, is this a good or bad team? No, Georgia's still a great team. They're still going to be ranked, top 5, top 10. They have the second best odds to win the SEC, right behind Texas. So, yes, they are going to be a great team. It's going to be a tough environment in Georgia, right? But there's several reasons why. First off, like you said, how we've played Georgia, in the past, right? Second, it's an early season game. It was our first SEC game, 4th game, right after a bye. If you lose it, you're like, okay, tone set for the rest of the year. But winning the Georgia game last year was maybe one of the worst things that happened to us. So you're kind of like, you come out of that game knowing more about your team, win or lose. You know what I mean? But I have consistently said the South Carolina trip and the Auburn trip are bigger on my radar. Now, does that mean I think the South Carolina or Auburn are better than Georgia? No. But those trips just loom larger. South Carolina wants us. And they have a lot of returning starters and maybe one of the best quarterbacks. And only one of the few returning starters. And Auburn on a 5-game losing, you just know Auburn's going to take half the season to throw the kitchen sink at you in that game.
Herb, I already said this Sunday night talking Bama, which you can catch every Sunday night, right here on this network, 7 o'clock Central Time. With my man Herb, myself, JB, and JT. Well, JT Mountain doing it, probably somewhere working right now, Mountain doing it. But I said this. I will not bring myself this season to go to Jordan-Hare to the Iron Bowl. I will not do because it's like every time I've gone to the Iron Bowl, it's always something weird that happens every time I've gone. And whether we've won off of something weird, like the 2-point conversion I was at with Bryce Young hitting John Mechie, Crane kicking the end zone, game over there, whether it was Greg Digger, Mule wrote a bond in the back of the end zone, and those were the good moments I was there, or the moments where, it's 2019 and I'm on the field and I'm looking dead at Bama's kicker, Joseph Bullovers at the time. And I believe I am mouthing the words to him, "You better not miss this kick," which if he's scared of what I said, then you probably shouldn't be kicking if you're scared of what I'm saying. But I'm literally mouthing the words at him, "You better not miss this." And he proceeds to attempt a 35-yard kick, y'all, from the middle of the field. Mind you, there's no wind. None.
Except for Stephen M. going, don't miss it. And maybe that just
no win, none. and he just pushes it to the left and it doinks off. And all I'm thinking is, Lord, please just let me get home. Lord, and all I see is Malzahn happy and girls jumping out of bleachers and getting stuck in bushes and people getting trampled, and that's why I can't be at Jordan. I can't be there.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Hey, can we clear up here too? We're not taking anyone for granted. The point of this segment is who is maybe the toughest test, and look at the rankings.
No, you're not.
This team is not going to take anybody for granted. We saw where that got last year. I guarantee that does not happen again.
I mean, you don't take anything for granted. I'm just saying, for me personally, the team is not gonna feel the way I feel. I'm just saying, me personally, I'm not afraid of Kirby Smart George. I'm not, just due to we've seen this matchup so many times before, and whether it's the Vegas odds, whether it's national media out there, the talk has always been, okay, this is the year George is going to finally do it. This is the year George is going to finally do it. This is the year George is going to finally do it. And then they come up short, each time to Alabama, except for the one year, the one time to open 2022, the national championship game where they did get it done, but it took a circumstance for them to get it done. Yeah. So now you look at this time again, does it take another circumstance for Georgia to get it done? Or does Georgia actually line up and get it done? We don't know. Yeah. All we can go off of is the previous data that we do have here. That's just my opinion.
No, you're right. You're right. And I think they're good, but they're clearly not going to take any game lightly. And we are going to look to improve every game. But yeah, Georgia's probably not the scariest test on your schedule.
I mean, it's not to me.
Yeah. And OU, Tennessee, Vandy, LSU, all at home, and we don't even play Texas A&M or Ole Miss. To Ephraim's point, so
which that's kind of sad. You don't play A&M, you don't play Kiffin anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of
I don't
sad.
Like the way this is broken. This changes.
I don't either, because it's like, I used to enjoy playing Ole Miss to hear what crazy thing Lane Kiffin gonna say in the pregame. Yeah. Like, remember the year? I think it was 2021. He said, "Get your popcorn ready." Yeah. And he threw the handset.
Yeah. So
he threw the handset at the camera, and then he proceeds to get beat. Like, stuff like that, man.
Because then they scored like 10 points. It was like his best Ole Miss team at that point, and we were on a downturn. And he thought he had us that year.
He thought he had Bama. You got young Jackson Dart out there, and you get beat. Yeah. And you get beat. Oh man. And then you remember Bama playing Texas A&M the year after they took all that NIL and bought that 2022 recruiting class. And in 2023, you play him in Bryant-Denny. Bryce Young doesn't play because he's injured. You put Milroe out there and you beat A&M. Oh boy. You missed that. But like you've stated, Herb, you look at South Carolina where that game is scheduled on the roster, that's a test. Auburn is always a test. It's Auburn. And especially when you go to Lee County and Jordan, Auburn is always a test. I don't care. I don't care if they are undefeated, 6-6, or 0-11. Auburn is always a test.
0-11 is worse, because then they the punter gonna be out there throwing passes and cheerleaders might be running around.
Dude, 0-11 is worse for Auburn because they will have a fan incognito as a player. They'll dress him up with a jersey and just will have him doing fake field goals and all.
You already know.
Auburn 0-11 is worse, but yeah, I have respect for Kirby Smart, absolutely. And I have respect for Georgia, absolutely. I just look at this schedule to me, and I just don't see Kirby and Georgia as the scariest test for Alabama. I don't see it. I don't see it. Even with the Crimson Tide going on the road. Now that doesn't say that I'm taking Georgia lightly in any sense of the imagination. This is just my opinion. When I look at teams on this schedule and I go, oh my gosh, this gives me a little concern. Georgia is not the team on the schedule that gives me a little concern. South Carolina gives me some concern. Auburn, just because you're going to Jordan Hare, that's going to always give you some concern. I mean, even the fact, even though this game is at Bryant Denny, you always have LSU to give you some concern. Even though that game is in Bryant Denny, you're at home. LSU always finds a way to give you some concern. But that's a cool conversation right there. Appreciate you, the Bama Nation, being a part of that with us here on Bama Vision, here on the Bama Standard Network on a Monday. As always, folks, you got to get you that title towel. Get you that towel. It's right behind me on the wall there. Throw it up inside Bryant Denny Stadium. Wave that thing around, twirl it like you just don't care on Saban Field all season long. In the fall, how do you get your hands on one of these towels? It's simple. You go to whitwillsports.com. That's whitwillsports.com. Get you a towel. Use the promo code standard. You get you a nice discount right there, courtesy of your favorite Bama network, the Bama Standard. You can't beat that with a stick. Get you a towel and start your journey and that mentality the right way of being an Alabama fan. Go to whitwillsports.com, pick up you a title towel. But now, Herb, it's everybody's favorite time, Q&A. Question and answer time with the fans. Get your questions in, baby. It's your time to shine. Get your questions in. Get your thoughts in. We're going to take those right now, wrapping up an awesome show on a Monday. Appreciate you guys for being with us here. We'll get this one right here, Herb. Tyson Boyd. I believe South Carolina going to be our toughest game this season. Tyson, I agree with you. That matchup in Columbia, Shane Beamer's going to program on him. You bring back Lenora Sellers. They have back Dylan Stewart. That's going to be a football game in Columbia. That was going to be tough. That was going to be tough right there. Tyson, I agree with you with South Carolina. Let's go with Latoya Billingsley. Not only does DeBoer have a year of SEC experience, he also has the coaching staff in place that he wants. I think that's going to be huge for him. It is. Him having Latoya, that SEC experience he gained last year, and him having the coaching staff that he's got, especially bringing his guy, Ryan Grubb, to call the plays offensively, is going to be huge for DeBoer in year two. Latoya, I do agree with that statement there. Let's see here. My man Raj with Tennessee basically trading quarterbacks. Does this increase or decrease their chances of beating us? I don't think they're going to win regardless. LOL. Raj, look, even with Tennessee trading quarterbacks, that game is going to be in Bryant Denny. In Bryant Denny. I do not see Tennessee winning this football game. I do not see Tennessee winning this football game this upcoming season. Absolutely not. Appreciate Raj here being a part of the show. We'll roll with Jeremy Sanders. In order to be a top 5 defense, we must stop the run, consistently stop the run, and put pressure on the quarterback. You got to have consistency. And that's the big reason why this is a huge year, Jeremy, for Freddie Roach, defensive line coach. He's got to have these guys popping up the numbers in sacks and tackles for loss, stuffing running backs, but also putting the heat to quarterbacks out there on the field. So a big season for Freddie Roach in terms of helping this group be a top 5 defense across the board. Raj comes back with, not including Milroe, we only had 60 yards rushing against Georgia. Any chance we improve that this year? Maybe get around 100? I think Bama's going to improve that with the backs Raj has got on the roster. Jam Miller, Richard Young, A.K. Deere, Daniel Hill, Dre Washington, Kevin Riley. These guys are going to improve that. the talent in that back room, that running back room, is going to improve that. And having a Ty Simpson that's going to hand the ball off to these backs that they can do their thing, I feel like you're going to have more than 60 yards rushing from your backs, not your quarterback, but from your backs. That running back position is going to be highly used this season. Appreciate Raj there for his question. Latoya Billingsley comes back. Do you think we run the ball down South Carolina's throat to keep those edge rushers at bay? I absolutely do. Big season for the offensive line. Guys like Kadyn Proctor, Parker Brailsford, Jaden Roberts, everybody on that offensive line getting down to business, creating those run lanes for these backs to have this kind of success they want to have. So I do think Alabama's going to be able to run the ball the way they want to on South Carolina, but it starts with the offensive line getting that action done there. Appreciate Latoya for her thought there. Jay Walker's, Steph, what do you think of letting the freshman kicker just do kickoffs since he has a big leg? I can see that. Letting him just handle kickoffs. I can see that. And have Connor Talty, who's in his third year, handle field goals. I can see that. And there was a time that Saban did that, where he let the freshman, handle just the kickoffs, and you let the guy with the experience do the field goals and extra points. So, Jay Walker, I can see that happening. That's a good point right there. Appreciate that thought coming in. Latoya comes back with, if we grind out a win rather than blow out Florida State, what do you think the narrative will be? Do you think everyone will hit the panic button? Toya, that's a good question. So, if you grind out a win over Florida State versus blowing them out. So let's say you beat Florida State 24-17. That's kind of a grinded out win. You would have some hit that panic button like we should have. This is Florida State. We should have blown them out. Are we that good? Are we that? Can we get to the playoff? We barely beat Florida State. But I think the majority of people will feel like it was game one. We got the win. It's the first game of the season. It's a feeling out game. You're trying to learn things out. That's why I like the comment that JT made on Talking Bama Sunday, where you want to have a comfortable win, a win to where people are not doubting you, but a win to where you're not getting the big head early. So you want that comfortable win. If you have a grinded out win versus Florida State, you're going to have some hit that panic button, but it won't be the mass majority. It won't be the mass majority. I think if you get a grinded out win over Florida State, the narrative becomes how good really is Alabama, because they had to grind it out to beat Florida State. But we'll see what happens. Appreciate Latoya there for that question. Jermaine Mims is in here. Does Kevin Riley have a future with the Tide, being how crowded that running back room is? Kevin Riley has a future. He didn't pursue the portal after the spring, so he wants to stick around and see what he can do, what he can contribute, what he can become. So he does have a future, Jermaine. It comes down to, how does this coaching staff go about divvying up the responsibility of the carries, and how many carries can Kevin Riley truly see himself getting? But there is a future with the Tide where he is concerned. Absolutely. Jeremy Sanders comes back. Jokes aside on West Georgia, Auburn has been recruiting and hitting the transfer portal well. Hugh Freeze can recruit. We all know this. Hugh Freeze can recruit. It's just now, how does Auburn fare in the fall? But we all know Hugh Freeze can recruit. Appreciate that from Jeremy Sanders right there. Appreciate all of you guys getting your questions into the show and being part of this Monday here, Bama Vision. Yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, and the pilot there, Herb Ragsdale, on the ones and twos here. You can always follow us here on social media. You can follow yours truly at Coaching M. Smith there on Twitter X, or X Twitter, or wherever it's called right now. You can also follow me right here on the Bama Standard Network on Mondays, Bama Vision with, my man Herb Ragsdale on the ones and twos there, Monday mornings at 9 a.m. You can also follow me Tuesday on the flagship show, the Bama Standard, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central Time, with the Tribal Chief, Justin Riley, with Steve Brown, star of the show, with Marvin Constant, with Coach Gerald GB coming through the smoke. Dixon, all of us right there. Bama Standard Network, the Bama Standard Show on Tuesday. You can also follow me on Sunday nights talking Bama, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here, the Bama Standard Network, with JB, JT, and my man Herb. Herbo, where can people follow you as the great pilot?
Yes, sir. Go to Twitter. You can find me, and you saw Raj in the comment, Raj_Herb, Herb and Raj podcast on YouTube. Like you said, Sunday nights talking Bama, 7 p.m. with the crew. Running the show kind of from behind the scenes back here, watching a great product that Stephen M is putting out. Man, it is awesome to have a front row seat to this, man. So I appreciate you letting me have this opportunity every Monday morning, 9 a.m. And then the Herb and Raj podcast is Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Central, streaming here on the Bama Standard Network as well. And then we also have our show where we, grab a quick drink and recap kind of the week's event Saturday nights at 7:30 as well.
And you gotta watch the nightcap show with Herb and Raj. You gotta watch the nightcap show, man. Because those two get busy in the night.
Man, yes. We start off with a loose plan, and then it just kind of goes wherever it goes. So it's a fun show.
Get with Herb and Raj on the nightcap. They gonna give Club Shay Shay a run for that money with that nightcap there with Herb and Raj. But also.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Stephen.
So we got a lot of great shows in this network, a lot of flavor in the room, a flavor in your ear. Craig Mack. Hey, there you go. Little reference to the Craig Mack there. But before we get into the other list of shows you got to be a part of, on tomorrow night, people, 6 p.m. Central Time, Bama Standard Network on the Bama Standard Show, we got Cam Dewberry, offensive lineman for your Crimson Tide. He will be joining us on the Bama Standard. Cam Dewberry, former transfer from Texas A&M, trying to earn him a spot on the Alabama offensive line. You don't want to miss tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time. Cam Dewberry will be right here on the Bama Standard. So it's going to be fun right there. But as always, on Mondays, if you're not on Mondays after, Bama Visions at 7 p.m. Central Time, you got the opening kick with my man, Coach Smoke Dixon and Daniel Petty. That's at 7 p.m. Central Time, right there, the opening kick. And then on Tuesdays after the Bama Standard Network, Bama Standard Show, you got the Final Whistle, who has their own YouTube channel. You check them out at the Final Whistle on YouTube with Matt Cadell, Lucian, Chris James, Dan James, Ty Hayes, the whole crew. They're right there. The Final Whistle on Tuesday nights. And on Wednesdays, you got Crimson Dynasty with C. She, Hot Letter Payne, JB, and Dan the Man James right there. Crimson Dynasty. Right after Crimson Dynasty, you got the nightcap of Teague's Take with George Teague, the illustrious George Teague, and his son JT Teague, who's got the hot takes for every possibility that you want in there. So you got that right there. You also got the Herb and Raj podcast. Herb mentioned that, streaming here on the Bama Standard Network on Wednesdays now. On Thursdays, you've got here Constantly Smoking with Marvin Constant and Coach GB Dixon. Constantly Smoking on Thursdays. Then on Fridays, you got College Football Chatter, 7:30 p.m. Central Time with Jonathan Lewis, with Brensky Sharp from the Sharpshooters podcast. Those guys did a phenomenal job there. We got a different flavor for you. Sundays and Sunday night talking Bama. So you want Bama content, you got Bama content. There's your list of shows right there. You can find it at the bottom of the ticker as it's scrolling through there. Hit that like button, folks. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate all that you do. Until next time, folks, you be good. Be blessed. Roll Tide.